Welcome back to Stay Tuned. I'm Tony Angelo, and this week we are already rocking on this 55 Buick that I bought last week. This is a wicked cool car. It's a 4-door hardtop Buick Special, and it has been sitting and hasn't run under its own power since 1968. Well, it hasn't moved since 1968 under its own power. In 2016 or 17, a kid named Tristan bought it from a little hot rod junkyard down in Kentucky. They had bought it from the original owner. After he passed, they bought it from his estate, and they did a couple of things to try to get it rocking down the road. They put it in tractor primer. They put the small block Chevy in it, if I'm being honest, badly, and started to assemble some kind of a 4-link in the back, but it didn't none of it really worked out. Tristan bought it. It was his dream car, and he dragged it up with him to Long Island, where he lives now, and basically realized at some point, I love this thing. It's wicked cool. It's got a ton of style. It's my dream, but he's doesn't have a garage, and it's just too much for him. So I bought it from him and decided I just want to get it up and moving down the road under its own power, and that's what we're going to try to do this week. Last week we got the 350 properly mounted in the Buick frame. It sits beautifully. We got it fired up. It sounds good after a little bit of messing around with it. And the goal is this. Make it a cooling system, make a fuel system. The big thing is going to be make a 4-link, get a rear end under this thing, because Buick has this weird sort of trailing arm setup with a torque tube originally and lever shocks. It's a one-off wonder. So we're going to redo all that, and again, hopefully in a couple of days, I'm going to be piloting this thing up and down the road, having a blast, and just trying to recreate that 55 vibe. So I'm very excited. We're going to get thrashing. These cars are super, super cool. And let's get going. Since you've seen last time, Barb has already been rocking and rolling. He has put in this radiator fan setup that we found in Tristan's pile of parts. A little bit of welding here, a little bit of aluminum welding, and a little bit of self-tapping, and this thing is sitting happy. And then in the back, he went in and put in a brand new gas tank. Again, nothing we've bought. Tristan had already bought all this stuff, which is cool. The product just got away from him. So let's get thrashing. So last time we got this thing fired up, it's just a little 350, turbo 350 transmission. They yanked out the original nail head. I think mostly they were doing it because the car had this wonky torque tube rear end in it, and somebody tossed in this Jeep. It's like a Dana 30, but all this construction here, all this fabrication, if you can call it that, is pretty wonky and pretty haphazard. So we're going to try to do a better job. This rear end's coming out. And while we're in there, since Barb's already put in a new fuel tank, we're going to toss in a Holly Blue pump, get that rocking, and then by the end of tonight, my goal is to get it fired up, idling right, with coolant in it, and then we can set the timing and just see how this motor does. Because last time we got it fired up, which was great, but had 3-second spurts, which happens to the best of us, but let's see if we can do a little better. All right, so you can see this is kind of a disaster. Not exactly tip-top. Also, they were going to have the very unique rear disc front drum setup rocking if we would have gone through with this. So probably skip that. We're just going to yank this out and move on. Put it behind us. Time-lapse style. That's rated for 16, 17 mile an hour. Real good stuff. All right, so it looks like somebody just came through with a torch and cut all the Buick different brackets off and tried to weld it onto this Jeep rear end. These are for the long trailing arm that goes next to the torque tube. The factory rear end is this long torque tube and some kind of reciprocating ball in the end of the transmission, so there's no exposed drive shaft at all. And beside it are 2 long trailing arms. That's what's hanging down in the car. I think that's what they were trying to replicate. And they came through, knocked the spring seats off it, the panhard bar mount, and just welded them onto this Jeep rear end. But we're going to try to we're going to put our own triangulated 4-link in here and then try to just do it a little bit more clean and with a little bit more strength. So there is a trailing arm here, stock. There's 2, almost like a truck arm, but I don't know if they went exactly here. I don't think they were just connected with a bolt. There would have been some kind of bushing or something could repeatedly get articulated up and down. This wouldn't last that many miles. This could have just been for shipping and moving it around as kind of like a work in progress. I'm not going to try to judge these guys too much. They did plate it in the back here. Like I said, we're going to try to do a triangulated 4-link focused on the back with either my Camaro rear end or, Firebird rear end or the S10 rear end that I have. We'll see which one kind of fits better width-wise and go from there. We'll reuse the factory spring setup. Just get, I picked up a couple of different mounts for it. I picked up a set of all-star mounts. These go on any 3-inch axle tube, and they'll fit right inside the springs. These are like 12 bucks a piece. These are nice little builder pieces. There's a lot of stuff like that. If you've ever done, there's a lot of people know how to do rear end stuff. Circle track dudes do a ton of it. They build super gnarly, mostly 3-links. If you've done off-road 4x4 stuff, those guys understand how to set up a long travel 4-link, stuff like that. So that's where you want to go to find all the builder pieces, either off-road shops or circle track stuff. Or even like, T-bucket hot rodders that do real fast. So we'll figure this out. It won't be too bad. It's going to be, one of those measure 4 times before we do the first weld, but then we'll be good. Cool. All right, so we're going to run a Holley electric fuel pump. This is a blue boy.
Blue boy.
It's 170 gallons per second.
Woo.
110 gallons per hour. That's what I said. And we're going to run it up here. Theoretically, if this thing had a bunch of horsepower, you'd put a sump or something back here, and you'd run the pump all the way in the back. That way, basically, gravity is helping you feed this pump. It doesn't have to do any sucking, and it's gravity fed, and it'll be able to pump with a nice flow streamed to the inlet of this sucker. It never has to find the fuel or suck it out. But since this is just a factory pickup, it's all the way in the front there. The easiest thing to do, I'm going to just put it up on the frame rail here. You guys can yell at me in the comments if you want, but if I put it behind where it's supposed to go, it's still going to have to draw the fuel all the way out of the front and then suck it to the back and then up to the front. So this might even be better. Neither one is ideal. Both of them are probably fine. And this car she's leaving all sorts of deposits everywhere. We say on this channel, it's patina when it's on the car. When it hits the ground, it's rust. When it's in my eyes, I don't really know what it is.
Or mouth.
It's seasoning.
Ears.
A little bit extra seasoning. All right, bring her down. Let's do it up. All right, I'm coming out of the tank here. Barb's got it double hose clamped on there for extra safety. I'm gonna just scoot this sucker just through this minefield of rust. Try to get it out of the way so I can mount it on the top side of that.
So you wore the big glasses today. You knew what you were working on.
I did. These are my Dahmers / safety dudes. All right. Is there any holes I can just zip tie this to? This looks like an old exhaust hanger from long before we were born. It's going to be just fine. All right. So, however we can get this thing to happily stay up here is what we should be doing.
All right.
Where's that pump? Down there? Now we know we're going to come back and weld up what we need to weld up for this rear suspension. So we're going to figure it all out. Maybe sneak it in here and then out there. Nope, there's a wall in there. This X-frame is serious. All right, we're going to go next to it. You got anything?
3 zip ties.
Zip ties. All right, well, let me grab a drill and a bit. We can get it going somewhere. And just like that. Perfecto.
Beautiful.
All right, safe and sound. Cool. All right. Maybe we'll put a little panel here in the next life. Let's get this thing running. Tyler's out here trying to pre-drill holes like this is some kind of TV show.
Or something.
No way.
That's not exactly where I wanted it.
Yeah, but that's
right
where it is.
Oh, that's hot.
Well, boy.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's in there though. Looking good. Give me that sucker. All right. Wire it up. Run that feed line up. We'll be in business. After we figure out all the wiring in the car, probably. right, boys. Pick it up again tomorrow. All right, let's take a second to talk about how you guys can all earn real money, cash back style from the free Upside app. You just download the free app. It's very easy, and you can save on things like gas, groceries, and restaurants. There's literally no downside, which is probably why they call it Upside. They're sponsoring this video, but it's a really cool product. They're supporting Stay Tuned, and all you have to do is download the app. It knows where you are, turn on location services, and it will give you offers all around where you are for those three things: gas, groceries, restaurants. I just bought a 2-wheel drive diesel truck to replace our old 4-wheel drive truck because it gets better mileage and towing. I'm trying to spend smartly, and this is a great way to save on fuel. I just tossed in our location. It says I can save 39 cents a gallon here on every gallon of diesel, and this thing takes 31 gallons, so those savings will really add up. And once they're in the app, I'm talking real cash, you can pull it out whenever you want and put it right in your bank account. And frequent users earn $340 a year. And top Upside earners are making as much as $300 a month. So this is real money. I'm talking, that's a set of tires. That's entrance to a couple different race events. It's pretty great. So I just claimed this offer. I'm gonna save 39 cents per gallon of diesel fuel. I'm gonna fill this sucker up. And it's really easy. You can just click the link in the description to find out how much you can earn. Use the promo code STAYTUNED to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon in your first fill up, or you can click the QR code right here. It's super simple. All right, let's get back to building cars. Roll that hog. Oh yeah, good tool.
Good tool.
Good tool.
Top 5 in the shop, you think?
Yeah, probably.
I would put it pretty high on the list.
It's a rare use tool, but when you need it,
There's no substitute.
that thing jams.
There it is. All right, we got that bead rolled coupler in there.
Dang.
I think that's gonna do it. The hard part here is the cross member was just in the way, and there was no molded hose that would work. We gotta get creative here. How about that part?
We'll say, yeah, I'll pick that up in post.
Take out of the post.
I just want the moment where it goes together.
I know. I want that moment.
I want it. Oh man, this is like holding the camera and not shoving my hand in there is hard.
You want to switch?
No, I'm good. You can
Sure.
do it. Get it. Tell that thing who's boss.
There it is.
Who's the boss?
Except the thing slid down.
That fitment, 10 out of 10.
It's pretty good though. Clears the cross member.
It's good enough for the girls we date, bud.
Whoa.
Vacation Barb's here. My guy's on vacation just underneath his pants. Nothing. Solid, yeah. Like really bringing the Tommy Bahama vibe over here. Bahama Barb. All right, so now we're going to undertake the biggest part of this project, and that is making a 4-link suspension for the back of this thing, basically from scratch. It's a very involved job. We're going to have to model out the geometry a little bit. I bought a kit for it. We just grabbed something. Was it eBay? Where did we get it?
Yeah, eBay.
Got it off of eBay. It was listed as a 52 to 56 Buick 4-link kit. And to be honest, it's kind of nonsense. So this is a Helix 4-link Buick kit, which looking at it, it looks like the construction is halfway decent. It doesn't bother me. It was like $650.
Yeah, something like that. 630.
Which is fine, but here's the deal. It 100% has nothing to do with the Buick. This is a very universal kit, so it doesn't take into account the X-frame and all the sort of special Buick things we're gonna need to deal with. You know, if we had probably a 55 Chevy, it'd be a little bit more straightforward, or a T-bucket, but I think it's a little bit dishonest to write, this fits a 55 Buick. You could write it fits a magical unicorn, you know, years 1200 to 2015, because it fits anything with enough cutting and grinding. Doesn't matter, we're gonna push past that. I've actually got some more, I think 3 and 4-link parts up top. We're gonna go look and see if we can find anything that's gonna help us along. But this Buick has a lot of special features, the crazy X frame. You know, it had these crazy trailing arms, so there's no mounts in the back for shocks. It had lever shocks. Again, a lot of unique features of this Buick that we have to deal with, and this kit is just not setting us up for success. If it said universal 4-link kit, triangulated 4-link, that's fine. And is the construction there? It actually looks fine. But the fact that we showed up and we're like, oh, I'm getting ready to where are the instructions? And it's like, find a car, put it in.
Yeah, the end.
Get after it. So we're gonna go look for some parts and figure it out. All right, so after a very warm trip up to the loft, we did find some stuff I've got. That's an upper mount if we want to do a 3-link.
2 of
Those are
those.
Ninja throwing stars, I think.
We do have 2 of these.
That's cool. This is the bat symbol or something.
Ladder bar bracket for a square frame rail. Rectangular.
Pan-hard bolt-on. That's super Circle Track stuff. Guys will adjust these where they are, the angle of them, the height, whatever. Circle Track stuff is basically everything bolts on and is infinitely adjustable. And if you really know what you're doing, that's great. And if you don't, it's trouble. Anyway, we're going to look back at the Buick now. Essentially, we've decided that we're going to run the F-body rear end that I've got. So it's from my 74 Firebird. It's a 10 bolt. It's 8 1/4, 8 1/2.
8 1/2.
Okay, big 10 bolt is what they call them. It has a sweet posi in it. It's probably got 28 spline axles, but it won't matter. This
Clean.
thing's never going to make the kind of power
Yeah.
it's going to need. But it does have a good posi unit in it. And it's a factory Buick is 59 pad to pad, 59 inches wide pad to pad. An S10 is 59 inches wide pad to pad. This is 61. So it's a little bit wider. It will not be a big deal. All right, so we're going to knock the pads off of this thing, the leaf spring pads, and get it up into place. Again, a lot of this is going to be measuring, dialing it in, modeling the suspension so we can figure out things like, pinion roll, anti-squat, instant center. Just to make sure, it's not going to be a race car, but we want to make sure it's halfway decent. And when you hit the gas or hit the brakes, nothing insane happens in the back end. All right, so first thing we're going to do is cut the leaf spring pads off of this Firebird rear end because obviously we don't need those. We're going to make a 4-link. And I've got my trusty plasma cutter out here. And I'm just going to give it trim these off and get to welding. All right, now I'm going to spend a minute with a flap wheel trying to make this look just like a bare axle tube. Take all this junk off so we have plenty of space to put all our different brackets. What we're going to do now is roll our now naked 8.5 over here and get it in place and start basically trying to emulate ride height. So it's going to be a lot of leveling and moving and lifting the car and lowering the car.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. You got the steering wheels there?
I guess so.
Okay. Steer me.
All right, these springs have to come out.
Yeah. What size is that?
There she is, though.
3/4.
Look at that. It's going to look just like that, but with 45 arms on it and lots of welding and a million times measuring. A great way to support Stay Tuned and Look Fresh is to grab some of our merch. There's a link right here and one in the description. We've got our We're Gonna Lose the Shop shirt, the original Stay Tuned, Angelo's Garage Gym, our Stay Tuned trucker hats, and we've now got our Down and Dirty design, which is one of our favorites, in a long sleeve t-shirt in garnet red and black. Reach out and grab one. And if you're on the Stay Tuned Pizza Squad premium membership level, you get a sweet 20% discount. So get over there and get some gear on. And we appreciate you guys like crazy. Thank you so much. All right, so we have our 10 bolt now underneath the 55 Buick, and we're gonna start just hanging some string down with weights like plumb bobs so we can start measuring in space. What's really difficult here is that we have to figure out where this thing is going to sit at ride height. We're going to take all our measurements and do all of our modeling for the 4-link at ride height, and the car is 9 feet in the air because we want to be able to get around and move it and do this pretty quickly. So it's going to take a bunch of math and figuring out. We're going to put wheels on it to sort of simulate ride height. Are they the right size tires? Of course not. We don't have those, but I have some old Rocket wheels off the same Firebird. They were in the front, I think. We're going to put them in the back and just see how it looks. It's still got a posi in it.
It still has a posi in it.
It sure does.
And you haven't burned these ones off yet.
I'm positive
Ah!
about that. All right. If you wanted to do a really good job on this, you would do it on the floor, but it would take you 2 extra days. So we're not doing that. This is going to be plenty good. No big deal.
I know.
All right, now we're going to start centering it in there, emulating ride height, and then we'll start really looking at this thing. I can tell you right now that the lift is not level enough for us to mess with this. So we're going to have to get the left side of the car up.
I did.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we're going to level it up and it's going to be fine. All right, let's start by leveling the car up. Grab a bar and we'll do it. Cool. All right, we're under the car now. We've got fresh batteries in all our levels, and we're going to basically square this thing up. This is ride height. We're going to have a little bit bigger tire, but we've taken that into account. But there are so many moving parts going on here, right? The car has to be level, forward and back, side to side. The rear end has to be centered, and fully level with the car, and then in the proper space in the wheel well. This rear end is going to be the opposite up angle of the transmission down angle, so that they're equal opposite angles. That's how you do it. And then we can start putting in space the 4-link. And once that's in, we can start measuring all out. I have a little computer model that we're going to stick it in, see what like anti-squat, pinion roll looks like, all that stuff. If it's even remotely reasonable, we're just going to weld it in. So we've got to put 2 pickup points on the frame, 2 pickup points on the axle. We still have to think about shocks, coil springs. It's involved. Okay, I'm going to ride with this. I'm going to come down just a hair. That's good. We'll say that's good.
Coffee's burning now. That's a huge plus.
That's what I'm talking about. Coffee!
Shout out to Ralph. This is a new batch.
Yeah, 7:30 Coffee Club. It's fantastic.
Dude.
So without getting too wild, there's some free calculators online that let you model 3- and 4-link suspensions. It's like an Excel spreadsheet with a basic readout. There are super involved ones you can pay a couple $100 for from road racers and stuff, but we're not. This is a 200 horsepower Buick Special that's probably floppy as all get out, so we're not worried about it. Although it is kind of built like a tank. And my theory is this. It was 1954. They had all this extra metal. They just won the war. And they're like, we'll build these cars like tanks. That's what we'll do at Buick. That'll be our thing. They're tanks. There's so much metal under here compared to like a 55 Chevy. It's insane. Normally in the Chevy, you get the X-frame or you get the regular frame. But you don't get this jungle gym frame. This is wild. One thing you also have to be aware of is if you move this end of the axle, that end's gonna move too. Just kind of the way it goes. Measure everything 85 times and then start welding. Let's call our rolling radius 12.5. So as your car sits under its own weight, there's this thing called rolling radius. That's, the distance from the center of the axle to the ground, and obviously there is some squish as tires, they're full of air, but not enough air to stay perfectly round. So usually it's about a ½ inch or so. So it's from the center here to the ground. We're going to call ours 12.5. All right, we're level. We're square front to back. Side to side, we got to measure again because we did a lot of monkeying around. Let's set that number 2 though.
Yep.
Give me a measurement that makes sense. What are you measuring to? Okay, so that's the axle sitting at ride height with everything dialed in. Barb had a good idea that why don't we just do a couple quick straps of metal just right up to the frame so that that relationship doesn't change at all if we bump it or get crazy. We'll still leave it on the, dialed in, but at least that'll be like a little insurance policy. I like it because I only want to do this once. I actually want to do this 0 times, but let's do it once. Now we're gonna do a bunch of math, find the theoretical floor, punch it all in the computer and see what it looks like. All right, so we punched all our stuff in. Really, we were worried about the packaging, and it looks halfway decent. Everything looks, it's not gonna be a road race car, but anti-squat is 35%, roll center height is 16 inches off the ground, which is like what the car rotates around. Roll axis angle, which is like the center for the front, how much lower it is in the center of the back, which apparently gives you roll oversteer because it's like the way that these two roll centers interact as the car rolls. 2 degrees is not crazy. The instant center is pretty far forward. It's not the end of the world. Again, it's an old Buick. We just want to not be a complete disaster. I'm going to now, my big thing is pinion change. So we're going to punch these numbers into another calculator that has, lets us go through bump and droop and see how much the pinion change is going to be. I figure we're probably going to have probably 4 inches of travel on the suspension, but we're going to find out. But none of these numbers are crazy. This calculator we're using is from Dan Barcroft and Greg Blanchett. This is made 20 years ago. This is what I use for my CUDA too. It's like freeware. It's awesome. It works really well. You can definitely make a mess of this, so give it a once over. Yeah. And just if you do want to spend 10 days going down a suspension rabbit hole, you could. We know that this is going to probably work really well for what we need, and I'm very excited about it. All right, you ready? This is the most science we're going to do on Stay Tuned probably ever. It's wicked fun. It's going to turn out great. I'm excited. It's time to put on our nerd hats.
Hey.
Get serious.
All right.
What's up? It's a late night here at Stay Tuned, and it is pizza time. As you know, Stay Tuned, we call ourselves a pizza team with a racing problem, which is a shirt that is coming soon. So there's a couple different ways to support the channel, and being able to do this already has been so amazing, and the support has been crazy, and I appreciate every single one of you, no matter what level you choose to support us on. If you want to go a little bit wild, you can donate us a pizza. There's a button right here. If you want to join the memberships, we wanted to give people back some value that we're throwing us pizza dollars. So if you want to sign up for memberships, there's a couple different levels. You'll get extra content every week. And if you just want to be a casual viewer, that's super okay too. We appreciate absolutely everybody. Just like and subscribe and watch it, and we will be pumping out, near hour-long video every Friday. And thank you guys just so much from the bottom of my hearts. We appreciate it. We know we're living the dream, and it's all because of you. So just thank you so much. I'm gonna eat pizza before I start getting choked up.
Down the hatch.
A couple pizza shout outs this week. We appreciate it. Steve Rosenberger said, buy some pizza, love the channel. Thank you. Josh Oldham, thanks bud for sending us a pie. Looks like James Harden bought a shirt. I don't think it's the ex-Philadelphia 76ers, but if it is, appreciate you. All right, so we decided to plate in a little bit of the frame here for the bottom four-link, the forward four-link pickup, just so that we'd have a nice place to weld on and be a little bit stronger because there's a large hole in the frame here. So we're gonna plate it in with 1/8 inch steel, weld that in, and then once that's in there, we'll weld our
How far back do you want to go?
lower arm pickup to the plate. And it won't be cardboard, it'll be metal, which is smart. All right, I've got this gusset plate welded in, mostly welded in. When it comes time to pull the axle out, I'll get the rest of these 2 edges because it's tough to get in there. But it's time to finally weld in our first piece. This is 1 out of 8 4-link ends. And we're just gonna check with our measurements, get it as close as we can and get it dialed in, and then the other side we'll make sure we get it exactly the same. So here we go. All right, you wanna hold it in there, Barb? All right, so my goal of getting all of the brackets for the 4-link welded in and tacked in last night was a complete failure. We had to pass out after plating the frame in and just getting the front lowers welded in. And now we're gonna work on the other 3 sets. So we got the lowers on the axle, the uppers on the axle, and the uppers on the frame. Same thing, lots of measuring, lots of dialing it all in. And then we're gonna probably have to shorten the arms to be the right length too, so we've got a little bit of work ahead of us, but we're still rocking. More excited than ever. This is really kind of becoming a thing. Obviously, you can see how much work this is and how much time it is. It's very understandable that Tristan, the previous owner of this car, really loved it and really wanted to make a driver out of it, but it's a lot of work to just, you know, make a 4-link out of scratch, or even to adapt this one so that it would work. So it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. We usually have not a lot of either one, but we're trying. All right, jump in here, Barb, let's get rocking. All right,
Yes.
so I'm going center to center, or like right to right, is 37.5.
Outside to outside real quick. 39.
Yeah, 39.25.
Okay, so we're very close to what we had measured up.
You're
I'm
on the lip?
On the, yeah.
The backing plate.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3/8.
54 and 3/8.
Yeah. All right, so we did a little bit of math, and we need to put it the outside edge of this lower arm 7 9/16 away from that plate we measured from. Let's get rocking. I can't wait to stop doing math. Barb's gonna level this thing, this unit right there.
All right, so give me your.
It's got to come in 2 inches. More. Another half inch. Now, keep going. That's good. You got it?
Yep, we're perfect.
Good?
90, yep.
Yep, ready?
Yeah. Just
All
gotta
right.
get the thing in here to here. Yeah, like that.
That's the short one.
Yeah, they're all gonna get shortened significantly. All right, so now we have one lower in, gonna get the other lower in the axle, and we'll start working on the top ones. Then we've got to build these arms, pull it all apart, and weld everything.
Let's go.
It all sounds easy, but it's gonna be gross and grimy with lots of math. It sounds terrible, actually. Let's do it.
Better.
All right, before we weld in the brackets for the upper arm, we're actually gonna make the upper arms because the brackets that go on the axle just kind of sit, they're just 2 little tabs, and if I can actually bolt into this arm, it'll be much easier to finagle everything in place and check how it all fits. So that's what we're gonna do here. I actually have some giant taps from being a drift racer. We used to make a lot of different suspension arms, so I have a 3/4 16, which is a pretty pricey little guy. But it's great because that's all they're doing here. This is not a tube nut welded into the tube. It is just a threaded tube. So we know I'm going to cut it to 13.5 is the length for our arm. And all you're going to do, obviously you want to give yourself a good amount of adjustment both ways and make sure you have about 5 threads or so in there. Call that the end of your adjustment. So I'm going to go from 5 threads to the end here, find the middle spot, and then that's where you would thread it in, measure your 13.5 and cut it that short. What we got here, same thing. That's about 5. I'm just gonna make a quick visual. I don't need to be that serious between here and here, call it there. Just so that when we are done, we're in the middle of our adjustment. So if you need to change pinion angle or align the car, you're able to do that, lengthen and shorten the arms as needed. So I'm gonna measure it with this thing right in the middle. My mark was there. This is gonna give me about 19 3/4, and I want 13.5. So I'm gonna subtract 6 1/4. Take 6 1/4 inches off this sucker. And then we'll thread it. I'm gonna cut it in the vise with a cutoff wheel because my bandsaw has been running real crooked. Beauty. I am now tapping this thing with my 3/4 16 tap I happen to have. We had to run to the store and get an 11/16 drill bit, which almost broke my wrist when I ran it through here, but we'll see it on the next one. It's very exciting. Ah! More lube, maybe we'll blow down this hole. There she goes. All right, now I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Chop it short, drill it out. Try not to get my teeth knocked out with this drill. And then tap it, put it all together, put these short arms back up under the car, and then we can start tacking everything in. And we'll just have to make lower arms after that, and we'll be in business.
Edit.
Sweet. All right, we have the upper arm tacked in position. We had to move stuff around a little bit because we realized that these brackets need to be parallel because it's not a rod end, they're just bushing, so they have to move together. So we had to reset everything in the computer a little bit, make a couple adjustments. It didn't hurt anything, actually. It says we got 57% anti-squat and now a 20-inch roll center is a little bit higher. That's a little bit better, I think. Translation, it's gonna drive good, it's gonna feel good. We're gonna now try to get this side in the same exact position as that one and just hammer it home. This takes forever, but it's worth it. It should be awesome. All right. One more. All right, so we now have everything tacked up. All mounts for the 4-link are either mounted to the axle or mounted to the frame. It's all just tacked up in there. We've got the upper arms made. I'm gonna quickly make the lower arms after I measure them, and then break this thing free, pull it all apart, weld the axle up on the table here somewhere I can actually get around it, and then climb under the frame, weld it all up, and then this thing's just about done. Then we'll have to sort out shocks and springs, but that's much easier than locating it and doing all the geometry. So some more cutting, some more tapping, some more welding, some more noise. There we go. Cool, I have now made both lower arms. That's all done. I'm just test fitting it because it feels good to look at it. Pretty sweet. Right in the adjustment ballpark, that looks good. Boom. There you go, 4-link done. Now I can blast it all apart, weld it outside of the car. The rear end, I'll be able to climb up in here and weld these brackets in. We will be done. Since we realized it's already sitting at ride height, we called up our boys at Hartman Drive Shaft. Had them start making us a 59¼ inch long Camaro automatic drive shaft, basically. So that is getting rocking now. And by the time this is welded, it'll probably be done. Feels good. Oh, not the burns on my arms, but the car. Whew. Cool, so after 2.5 days of grinding, cutting, tacking, measuring, computer stuff, math, I get to finally weld this all together, which is the fun part. Here we go. When you are welding on a axle, the tubes actually aren't that thick, so I'll probably do a little bead here, a little bead here, a little bead here, and anytime you do it with brackets like this, grab yourself a spacer so that as you weld, it doesn't pull in tight and then your stuff won't fit anymore. So we've got one here. I'm just gonna let it ride. Yeah, this is entirely uncleaned. Love it. Looks nice. All right, only 5 more miles of weld to do. Let's see when we get there. Sweet, we've got the rear end all welded up. Barb came in and welded the mounts into the car, and then we hit it with a fresh coat of paint. This is just Summit chassis black. It turned out awesome. All those welds, it took a little bit of time. Like I said, you jump around when you're working on an axle tube, so not to put a ton of heat in one spot. And one thing you haven't noticed before, Barb tossed on the spring mounts. These are coil spring mounts because this is a coil spring car. We line them up just directly over the factory pockets. And we're gonna put this thing into the car for the first time. I actually get to articulate it, see how it fits, put it at ride height, and figure out the shock. So I'm very excited. Sounds like Tyler's here, so he'll be here working in a second.
You want to put the springs in first and then
You can hear he drives a 350Z. That's that signature VQ sound right there. Shared crank pin they have. We're gonna use the factory Buick coils and just knock off enough of them that they'll fit over these mounts that we got from All-Star. These are like 13 bucks. Super basic.
They work great.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they work great, but they look great.
They look great.
Yeah. All good. That'll work. We are reusing as many stock pieces as we can. Just trying to keep the cost down. And if it does sag like crazy, we can always get stiffer spring, longer spring, whatever. But we're going to try those Buick ones out first. I think right now what we're going to do is finally connect all the arms for once. Get it up in there and like let this thing articulate and see how it looks and how it works, because I'm excited as hell because we spent so much time building this thing and now it's ready to hook it up. So let's do it.
Bring it down.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No more. So we will just now throw in the upper links and the lower links and see how it looks. We had to make
Uppers
the lower
are
ones are longer.
Longer.
Yep. Let's stick this in on first. I think this is easier. That nut fits in there, which is fantastic. A little bit of Loctite for extra insurance. We are near ride height, so I'm actually going to tighten everything down for good and go from there. But this is looking sweet. This was like 3 days of work. Very excited about that part, that it's over. Just I like these by hand. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's tighten this thing up and do the up and down thing. If you're working with a bushing, like a stock bushing that has a limited range of motion, you always want to make sure the car's on the ground or it's at ride height when you tighten everything up suspension-wise. Now, luckily we're at ride height, so we can do that. And these are not limited range bushings, so theoretically it'll be fine either way, but just to be safe, that's how we're gonna do it. All right, that is a 4-link built, designed, welded in, adapted from that other universal kit. Now comes the fun part. Raise it up and down on the lift and watch it do its thing. That's well slammed. Here we go. That's it, working, looking sick. Pretty good, huh? Stoked. All right, let's get it under its own weight for once. So I trimmed the bottom of this spring just to fit over that all-star mount. And I think that'll be good. I'm gonna lower it down just a hair so I can get the factory mount up there that retains that spring and holds it up to the pocket. Yeah, found their homes real good. That looks sweet. There is one thing left to do, of course, shocks. We're gonna try to come off these posts and find a nice spot back here. We'll figure it out, one thing at a time. Oh, found something. That'll do. That's better than what I could have done. All right. Well, that worked. If you would have shown the guy that built this thing in 1954 one of these DeWalt lithium-ion jobbers, he would have called you a demon witch from the future. That's for sure, and you'd have been probably half right. Sweet. All right, so we have these 4 platforms just made out of regular 2x4s. These are awesome if you're building like suspension in your garage. You want to get your car down on ride height, but still be able to crawl underneath it, do work on it for whatever reason. So it's just, you know, you basically go to Lowe's and you make best friends with the guy running the saw. And I think you cut 12 long and 14 short pieces. And they're just, ours are 13 by 19, but you can kind of figure out what you need for the size of your wheels. And you all screw them all together, and believe it or not, they turn out to be close enough height-wise for the kind of work we're doing. It'll be awesome. So we'll be able to simulate ride height and see how this thing sits and go underneath and figure out a plan to put some shocks on this thing. Originally, this car had lever shocks, which is like a weird little box with an arm on it, kind of like a R2-D2 droid or something that's used to sit back here and hook up to these links. And they're you can't get them, you can't rebuild them, there's no point in them at this point. So those are gonna stay in the trunk where they belong, and we're gonna move on to some regular shocks. So the back is now Chevy bolt pattern, the front is Buick. So I got some old 14-inch rockets we had laying around off my Firebird, and we're gonna use those for the Maiden voyage. The point is to get this thing driving down the road. Good? Yeah. Get it so we're close to the tire.
That one's not too oily, see that, right?
It'll find its home, right? Hey, Barb did it. All right, come on.
That one's out now.
Okay, come on down. You know about that?
Oh my God, you're scaring me.
It's got no shocks on it, but it's pretty good. Yeah.
Hey.
It's awesome.
That looks like it works pretty well.
It's very good. And I'm seeing very little pinion roll. Last order of business is to fit a shock on this thing. These are the shocks that came with it. They're just some KYBs, I think.
Yep.
They'll be fine. They're actually a decent length. So we're gonna just make a little U-bracket off the bottom lip of the frame cross brace. And this will go right to this lower 4-link bracket that we have. And it came with, hold that Barb show.
Got one of these
A
going.
long bolt with a decent sized spacer, and that'll keep it off of the coil spring. It'll push it behind the axle tube enough for it to work for us. Certainly straightforward enough.
That. And then that's perfect, dude.
That'd be just fine.
I think so. I like that.
That is good enough for us. So we had a brake master cylinder that's been seized up since the 60s, and digging around, it's pretty hard to find a Buick one, but believe it or not, I just did a ton of looking around and I found one that looked really similar, and I think it's gonna work just fine for us. This is first gen Corvette, and it's much more popular. M19012 from Dorman, and this is a 50s Corvette master cylinder, and it looks to be the same fitting, the same bolt up, and if you swap the rods, as long as you have the Buick piece, I think it's gonna bolt right in, which is awesome. This was 90 bucks instead of a few hundred, and instead of being like from a specialty place, I was able to order it like in 2 days from an online retailer. Super easy. Handled. Nice. That's gonna save us a million years trying to rebuild that other one. You might ask, is the bore the same size in the Corvette Master as the Buick? Totally is. Or not, I don't know, whatever.
We don't know.
It's gonna work fine. I got Camaro brakes on the back, these giant Buick drums in the front. We're gonna push it down, the car's gonna stop.
We'll get it to stop.
Yeah. You good? Yeah. It's either an upgrade or a downgrade, and I'll let you know in a couple days. I know it's an upgrade from the old stuck one, that's for sure.
This thing wasn't gonna stop the way it sat, so that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, hole saw that sucker.
Where?
So if you can't tell, you have to fill this thing from the top like every other master cylinder in the world, except it's not on the firewall, it's down underneath the car. And I think back in the day there would have been a hole in the floor with a big rubber plug in it. You pull it out, you pull this cap off, and you can fill it as you need to. And somebody came in and did a pretty basic sheet metal repair on this floor and didn't leave us a hole to fill the brakes up. So we're gonna mark it and just hole saw it, come up with a plug later.
Or not.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, I found a couple of these 1/4-inch thick, quarter-inch thick tabs in the bin over there. Just open the holes up a little bit to 1/2 inch for these shocks, and I'm just making a couple of quick little tabs to put this up on the cross member that's in there. Whip it up. Ready? Yep. Here we go.
I got him, don't I?
Sure did. Oh, yeah. Perfect. What size?
I think that's fine.
Oh, look at that.
Good?
Yep.
All right, bring her down. So,
It's awesome.
I know it.
We gotta tighten that one up
Yeah.
all the way, and the other one needs to be snug.
Oh, good. It's raining garbage. Oh.
Dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. All right, give me two. Oh, what do I do here? This is the problems. There it goes. All right. All right, there you go. That is a fully suspended, shock dampened, ready to rock 4-link. That feels good. Somebody bounce on it now.
All right.
Should be a little better than before when it had no.
Oh. This isn't as fun.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
Dude.
It's pretty good.
Nice work.
That's good.
Cool. All right, so a minute ago I said that you could swap in a first-gen Corvette Master and it would bolt right in, and it does, but it basically has a different type of outlet for the brake fluid. Under pressure, this seals on the face, so you have to get something there is a banjo block that the Corvette uses from the factory, and the Buick has just an inverted flare inside the Master right here. The Corvette one is just a straight thread all the way through, so we just put something together with. So we just decided to use this adapter with a copper washer. It should seal right on the face and give us that inverted flare we need. So if you're gonna do this, be aware it is 1/2 20 thread, and then you can come out with whatever brake line size you need. And we made a new brake line here that threads in. Anytime you do like a copper washer on that's never been used before, I'm gonna tighten it and loosen it a few times. That's called burnishing it. Helps it seal. I'll tighten this line down and we'll keep on moving. After that, we're gonna make all new lines because they're 1,000,000 years old, 2 each front wheel. And the Buick rear line used to come just to right here, and it had those big trailing arms. And there is a little flexible hose here that would then go to those trailing arms. Each had a hard line on them, and I think they went to then 2 more hoses. We're gonna simplify all that and just do it regular, like F-body style. So we're gonna run a hard line up to here. We've got the Camaro style rear line. We'll just meet it here with the hard line and make 2 short lines on the rear end, all done. So we're gonna do that now. It's finally time to bleed these brakes. We'll have a full-on new braking system. We ran lines from the front to the back, and instead of using the Buick like middle Y hose and these 2 long lines, we just simplified everything and ran it to a Camaro rear hose, standard style for a live axle. Tyler put in new hoses in the front. He did the front brakes. The back brakes should still be good from the Firebird. And we put in that Corvette Master Cylinder. It's time now to bleed the brakes, and that means that one of the 2 pedals will finally work, and we'll be that much closer to getting this thing cooking down the road for the first time in 58 years or whatever it is. A very long time.
Forgot there's no tires on the front.
Yes, don't put the drums on the floor. And we did drill a hole in the floor to try to be able to add fluid. So we're gonna see what that looks like now.
We should be able to peel it back.
All right, that is our brake master cylinder access for filling up fluid, so we don't have to get all crazy with trying to, I don't know, fill it with a hose or something. We'll just put the carpet back down over that and, forget about it after we're done. It's gonna leak a lot of other places too. Go ahead.
All right.
You can make like a rubber hose, like cap, or get some duct tape, or just forget about it. That's the cheapest option and quickest.
How sharp's this metal?
Oh, looks real sharp. So this car has the master cylinder right at the bottom of the frame, so it's not gonna gravity bleed. I think it might take a little extra time to on-off, pump it in, up and down, do the thing. Well, we'll get her there. We relined the front brakes. Again, new master cylinder, new wheel cylinders in the front. Good, pretty new wheel cylinders in this rear end that we were running around in the Firebird. So basically every part has been replaced. The only thing we have left that's original is that distribution block and one front line, one front actual brake line. So if it doesn't work, blame, I don't know, somebody. All right, Ty, we're gonna do the old up and down. So I'll say down, then you say down, then I'll say up, and then you tell me one of your deepest, darkest fears. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, down.
Down.
Attaboy. Up.
Up,
Okay, yeah, that's one way to do it. Down.
down,
Up.
up,
Sounds really good. Down.
down,
It sounds like, okay, up.
up,
Something might need a little lubrication. Down.
down,
Up.
up.
Okay, has it taken any fluid?
It took a little bit, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so we are starting on the passenger side rear. We start furthest away from the master cylinder and then work your way closest. And what's nice is once we do finally get fluid here, that'll make bleeding every other single wheel that much quicker because the whole central line will be full and it will be even all the way over here. So then it'll just be like bleed this little part, bleed the little corners, and then we'll be rocking and rolling. So I'm gonna go through each one and keep going until we do see some fluid without bubbles at each side. And hopefully, since Tyler can just look at the master cylinder between his legs, we won't run it dry.
I just filled it up.
Attaboy. See? You can hear me. Okay. Down.
Down,
Up.
up.
Pump it a couple times, I guess. Good. So once we put some pressure to this thing, we finally found some leaks, which is going to happen. So as you do this, always check for drops on the floor. Hit it again. Give me some pumps there. See, it was leaking a little bit. I think it stopped. All right, that's good. It was pretty serious before, so.
Woo!
Feel like brakes? Pretty good?
We got a pedal.
All right.
And no squeaks.
Ready?
Yeah, what do you want me to do?
Just pump it and hold it. I'm gonna do one more on this one. We're gonna call this one done for sure.
Holding.
Okay. Good.
Good to let go?
Let go.
Bled.
Gross. That one's bled. The machining of the wheel cylinder put the bleeder too close to the line, so you can't get anything in there but a socket on top and half on top, crooked. Wow, that's incredible. All right, it's my first time actually sitting in the Buick, I think, and we got a nice looking brake pedal. That thing is properly firm. Feels like a manual should. It does move quite a bit, but man, it feels good. I had to make a huge mess while bleeding the brakes, as you often do. If you don't wind up covered in it, you didn't do a good enough job. So we did that. I did wash my eyeball out with brake fluid at one point, so that was a plus. But right here, we got brakes, we've got steering. Now we just need a shifter and a throttle pedal, and we'll be moseying down the road.
Turn to the right.
I don't think we're gonna use this shifter because it says PNDLR, which is a new one, but
Not a Prindle, it's
this is
pin.
post-war. They were doing whatever they felt like. Where's the middle here? Is that the middle?
No, go back.
Look at that Buick
to the
crest.
left. All right, right there.
Oh, yeah, this thing is amazing. All right, let's keep rocking. Throw that drive shaft in.
Rock, rock.
Big night. Make a big list after that. Grab some, what is it, 7/16 wrench, and we'll get this thing dialed in. I picked up our custom-made drive shaft from the guys at Hartman Drive Shaft in Reading, PA this morning. Gave it a quick coat of paint, Summit chassis black. And it's time to shove this thing into its new home. You gotta be really careful when you measure for a drive shaft. You wanna go right from the flange of the transmission to the middle of this cup here. You can just do it right to the flat. And then for good measure, I always subtract a quarter inch. That's my lucky number. And we are concerned that this weirdo X-frame is going to be problematic, but I think we had to make the smallest external drive shaft that would support 400 horsepower, which this thing is never going to make. This is wishful thinking. And go from there. All right, something's got to spin. There she goes. Look at that. Full droop, baby.
Nice.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, it could probably be about a 1/4 inch longer. Sweet. All right, we're really close to getting this Buick driving down the road under its own power for the first time since 1968. It's Thursday, and this video is going to come out tomorrow. And if we don't get this thing done, I wore the perfect shirt, we're going to lose the shop, which is a joke about every giant budget TV show that makes car stuff, where they're like, 19 people are working on the car, and there's 35 ghost mechanics behind the scenes. And they come up to commercial, and they're like, boss, the alternator won't fit. And the boss is like, oh my God, this client is not gonna buy this car. Now we're gonna have to shut down our $90 million shop. And then they come back from commercial and he's like, it works now, I fixed it. Anyway, let's get this thing running. All we have to do now, Barb just finished up the fuel system. We've got to figure out a shifter, TV cable, hook up the vacuum modulator on the Turbo 350, figure out some kind of exhaust, fill it up with coolant, and get down the road. Because, again, this video comes out in a matter of hours. We're running real low on sleep. We're gonna probably hodgepodge a couple things and come back to them later, but I need to see this thing, I need to feel it push itself down the road, turn and stop. Barb might be pulling on a throttle cable out the window or with a wire hanger or something, but we're gonna get it going. I think as long as we do a halfway decent job of wiring, that's the end of the list. Everything else we can just scrap through. One beautiful Buick right here, baby. The amount of, this is like chocolate cake. It's beautiful. It's been frosted. This whole car's been frosted underneath. To try to make this quick, Barb picked up some manifold downpipes from Flowmaster. These are part number 81075. These are actually for like a 65 Impala or Bel Air. And we're just going to try to use the bends to see if they'll work for us. The Buick only has one spot through the frame for the exhaust, so I think we're going to have to do some kind of 2-in-1 scenario. But we're really trying to just go sort of rough and ready for today. So we'll see. Let's see how far along we get. That one's even better, probably. So this car came with little block hugger headers, and we've got these manifold pipes. They're going to work pretty well. I do have to knock this ball and socket joint off and put on a proper little collector flange header style setup. So I'm going to start there. Get one of these in, second one in, merge them together, get them out that single hole. I'm gonna rock and roll now. This is gonna be quick style. You've seen us MIG weld, slap together plenty of exhaust. So here we go, one more. All right, the first pipe is in. Turns out that Impala manifold down tube works really well for getting through this Buick frame section. Now we're gonna come across from the driver's side header, around, underneath the torque converter. Keep it as high as possible, and bring 2 into 1.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So we actually realized that because of the weird Buick frame, I'm worried that if this is all one big piece, we won't be able to like get it out of the frame. We're gonna have to have a slip joint here, but even our Y pipe, I'm gonna cut off. We're using this Flowmaster builder kit, so you can build like exhaust for basically any car. It's got lots of different bends and whatever. It's 819536 part number, and I'm gonna knock off this slip fit here, and that's what's gonna start the crossover. That way that the driver's side will come over, go into the slip, get clamped down, but when it's time to take this thing apart, you actually can. Unbolt it from the header, pull this off, unbolt this from the header, pull it down, and get it out of that hole in the frame. So we're just trying to use a little more science in this one. I cut the slip off here, and now I'm gonna cope it real rough just with the flap disc so it can go on that other pipe. All right, so we have finished our Buick 2-into-1 system. It looks awesome. We curved it under the torque converter here, kept it as high as possible for ground clearance because they're probably going to lower the front end of this thing at some point. We put a slip fit here, so I believe we'll be able to pull this downpipe off, slide it out, pull this one out, and then get the whole system out of the frame hole here. And it fits beautifully through here. We are in business. Took a little bit extra time to do it moderately right, and it looks great. Barb's gonna weld her up. I'm gonna cook up some prime rib sandwiches, and we're gonna live our best lives. All right, you might have noticed that there's actually no hole here in this pipe yet, so I'm just gonna drill it afterwards. That's one of the reasons I kept this really short, so that I could reach it with a hole saw. Much easier. If you're gonna come through and like cope a pipe and then cut the pipe beforehand, you have to get it to match perfectly. And for us, we didn't want to spend all that time. This is just kind of a blast through it and get it done scenario. Kind of down and dirty. You ever did that? Oh, I forgot my belt, so I'm keeping it real. Bungee only has to go through the back. It doesn't matter how long it is. If it's a little short, just grab the front. I got nothing across the front, you don't need it. Good as new. All right, so our exhaust fits beautifully to about here. We're gonna bail out now and start working on other stuff because it's getting pretty late on Thursday. Bring it down, put the wheels on it. We gotta get a shifter, fill it with coolant, fire it up, set the timing, figure out some kind of throttle setup. At least that. And hit the road in the first time this thing has ever moved under its own power since 1968, which is insane. All right, it's the 11th hour. We're blazing along here. I do want to get this thing down the road. I'm going to do like just a real haphazard temporary wiring setup, temporary throttle cable, and Barb's going to wire up the fuel pump to the front wheels on, and we're going to take this thing out and go down the road. And I'll set the timing first. So we're rocking and rolling over here.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, we're really close. I'm going to get this thing fired up, hopefully long enough this time to get the timing set. It is in park. We have to put a shifter in it at some point. Sounds pretty good. I'm going to move this fan connector so it doesn't get screwed into anything. It'll stay there. Sounds pretty good now. Going the wrong way for a sec. Let's get her dialed in. Dang it. All right, we're gonna put on the old Holley HP 750 double pumper, just because we're not super familiar with that emissions carburetor, and see if this thing actually springs to life and runs right. It's all over the place, it's backfiring, it's acting wonky. I don't know if we have to run the valves or the distributor's being weirdo, but this is the next step. This tried and true unit's going on there. Good, I'm gonna set the idle at 800, I'm gonna set the timing at 12, and if it doesn't act right, we're gonna have to dig in farther. Ready? Great. All right, so it sounds a lot better. I have it at like 11.5 degrees of timing. at idle. It seems like the distributor is not moving very fluidly, so can't remember if this is a unit I had laying on the shelf. It might not be 100%, but I think it's time to get this thing on the road. Stop goofing around. I think it will motor down the road. That's my goal here. Let's get it rocking and see how it feels to get this thing, actually moving and motoring around. That's what I want. It's not like it's going to be a race car anyway. I just want it to run decently. I think it'll do that for us, and we'll go from there. But let's move on. Add some ATF into this thing. Hot wire, a couple, zip tie these wires out so we don't start a fire and take it out on the road. All right, it is time to cruise this sucker down the road. It's Thursday night. We're running out of light and time. I got to drive this thing. So my throttle cable is going to be a piece of wire shoved through a hole in the firewall. And we're going to hit the streets. We're going to drive this thing under its own power. I'm actually, honestly, very, very excited. I can't wait to see how that 4-link works. And Barb and I just put in this B&M shifter that he ordered up. So we have a way to put this thing in gear. We are just about ready to pull this thing out. Ugh, all right, Barb. Ooh, that's hot. Let's go.
56 years.
56 years this thing
56
hasn't moved under its own power. That is incredible. I mean, if it works. Let's find out. All right, we have been busting our butts for like 2 weeks straight. It's time to drive this 55 Buick out under its own power for the first time. I'm very excited. If it goes into gear, I'll be more excited. And I know the back end is low. That's on purpose. The front's coming down soon. Here we go! He's moving! Woo! There's a car! We're doing it! Woo! It's got brakes. All right. It steers. It's nice and warm in here. This wants to go.
Right, the lack of.
We're driving this thing, dog. What's that? This is amazing! You're driving this sucker for the first time since 1968! The seat's not bolted in. I'm using a wire for throttle, but we're doing it. We are doing it. Amazing. I keep putting my right foot in the throttle. There's nothing there. No, straight exhaust, as you do. This is amazing. I stalled her out.
Huh?
I stalled her out up the hill. It's the best.
Dude.
Yo, it drives incredible. Don't be out of gas. Don't be out of gas. Don't be out of gas.
Oh. The water temp like.
190, baby. 188. You got it. Woo! Let's go! Woo!
That was incredible.
This thing is amazing.
I can't wait to make it work better.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like with a gas pedal on your foot.
Bring it
You
in.
want to park it here? Let's park it here. Ugh, we are back from our maiden voyage in the 55. This thing was awesome. Obviously it needs a bunch of tuning and tweaks, but made it up and down the road under its own power. Brakes feel incredible. Steering, rear end, all are awesome. Making a small block Chevy run better, that's the easy part. I'm so excited about this, reviving this thing. I'm blown away. It was so fun just to cruise down the road in it. That is it for this episode of Stay Tuned. Thanks for watching this long, hard struggle, but it was absolutely worth it. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.